Hey guys, welcome to the Waypoint X show. My name is Judd, and today's video we have a special guest with us, a guy that we met on our first Jeep Jamboree, and so stay with us. Hey guys, welcome again. Like I said, my name is Judd, and this is the Waypoint X Insider Show, and we are really excited to bring on our good buddy Clayton. He's out of Lubbock, Texas, and so we met him on our first Jeep Jamboree out in Ozark, Arkansas, and yeah, it's been a wild ride there, Clayton, thus far.
Yeah, we actually met in 2018 at the Jeep Jamboree in Ozark, Arkansas. It was the Ozark Mountains Jeep Jamboree that they had there at the Birds Adventure Park.
So yeah, it was just crazy. It kind of just I mean, we met each other, and then we kept on calling each other, and next thing you know, 4 or 5 years later, it's we're still willing together.
Yeah, it was really crazy because when I went to the Ozark Mountains Jamboree, I actually went by myself. I didn't know anybody that was going to be there, and it's actually not my
Right.
first Jamboree that I've gone to on my own. And Judd and his wife Caitlin just happened to be in my group. We buddied up, had great similar experiences, thoughts about wheeling and just being outdoors, and it just kind of blossomed from there. We exchanged numbers, and it was one of those like we always just kept asking like, where are we going next? What's our next, destination?
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So let me ask you, Clayton, where did your story begin? So, like, why did you get into the Jeep world? Like, what was the point?
Well, I actually had a Dodge Durango at the time, and I needed to go get it an oil change. And I took it into the dealer to get an oil change, and I was waiting on it. And the salesman just kind of came up to me and asked me what I was doing. I was like, "Oh, I was waiting on my car to get an oil change." He's like, "Oh, hey, well, I'm gonna go get a drink at the Sonic. Do you want to go? I've got one of the new JKs pulled around." And he made me drive it to Sonic. And little did I know that he was basically hustling me to get me into a Jeep. And
That's
I bought
awesome.
a 2013 black Rubicon from him. It was brand
Hmm.
new. I think it had like 20 miles on it, which is ironically not the Jeep I've got right now because the black one, it got T-boned about 2 or 3 months after I had it, and got totaled out. So I had to get a white one now. So I've got a white JK 13 Rubicon Unlimited, and I've just enjoyed every minute of it.
All right. So Clayton, you got T-boned in the black one, and then how did so you just bought the white one right afterwards?
So it was actually a little bit of an awkward transition because the black one I had was one of the first ones that they had available here in Lubbock, and I bought it
Right.
off the lot. And then whenever it got totaled, they really didn't have a whole lot of 13s left because they were starting to transition to 14s. So mine actually, I bought it from them,
Right.
but they shipped it out of New Mexico to me. So
Well, that's awesome.
I ended up with a better Jeep in my opinion because it was white, which is a whole lot easier to keep clean than those black
Absolutely.
ones. And then I
Tell
didn't,
me about it.
yeah, I know, man. And then I didn't realize how much of a big deal the leather seats were going to be because in the black one it had cloth seats and it was constantly,
Hmm.
dirty, dusty, and I always tried to keep it clean because I had no intention of going and doing the things that I ended
Right.
up doing to it, and then the leather just cleaned up so much easier after a
Right.
trip.
I totally understand about the black Jeep. That's why mine's wrapped and now like a orangish red.
Yeah,
It's a little bit easier to keep clean.
just a
But
little bit.
going on to the next question, is just a little bit, just a little bit. Where are you from?
I'm actually from the great state of Texas. I am in Lubbock, Texas, home to Texas Tech University.
There you go. So for all those Texas people out there,
Red Raiders, baby.
the great what? So just to get to know a little bit more about you, Clayton, what are some other hobbies besides jeeping that you enjoy? Because I mean, I know it's not all about jeeping all the time.
No, but it is a very big part of my experience. But
Hobby.
I actually love anything outdoors. When we go on trips, I actually like to camp. I like to tent camp. I enjoy any time outdoors. I love hunting. I love golfing. Hiking. But I like anything outdoors. They say anything outdoors is better than your best day indoors. So I always just love being
Right.
outside.
Absolutely. So, what got you into the off road? I mean, you said that you like camping, you like anything outdoors, but what made you go off road? Was it like a family influence or a friend influence that made you wanted to go jeeping? Because I know you bought the black Jeep and then you got T-Bone and then you had the white Jeep, but what made you say like I want to go hit a trail? Like I want to go do that.
Well, my first car was supposed to be a Nissan Trooper that my dad had bought for me, but I kept taking the keys to his CJ7 whenever I turned 16. So I had a CJ7 when I was 16. It was this dark red maroon color. It had the diamond plating chrome on it. It had a hard top. I mean, it was like the perfect high school car that you should never give your high school kid. So I had that all through high school, and it really just made me love an open door, open top, experience. But really,
Right.
what got me going is I wanted to get back in a Jeep, and one of my buddies that I worked with had a Jeep as well, and he said, "Hey, let's go on this Jeep Jamboree thing." And I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "We're gonna go drive to Arizona, and we're gonna go hit trails in our Jeeps, and they're gonna tell us." How we're gonna do it, what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna see what our Jeeps can really do. And after that, I was like,
That's
man,
awesome.
I need to get a lift because I found the bottom of my Jeep so many times that I was like, I need a lift and I need bigger tires.
So the next question. So that's how you got into off road scene. What made you buy? You know, you said that your dad had the CJ7, correct?
Correct.
So he had the CJ. Your dad had the CJ7. What made you go towards the 4 door, or why did you decide? Okay, now I want another Jeep.
So since coming from a CJ7, it was actually an 86 CJ7. It was the last year they made it. It had an inline six. It was a 5 speed. It was like the cream of the crop CJ7 at the time. It was
The Jeep.
awesome. It was the Jeep. When you think of a Jeep, you think of it, back
Right.
then you thought of a CJ7. And all of the Jeeps that came out
Right.
after the CJ were these like new kind of concoctions that at first I just didn't really like. I was kind of thrown off, like when they
Right.
extended it for the
Right.
LJ and then they went to the 4 door. I was like, oh, it's an abomination. And the more that I saw them around, I was like, man, those actually look pretty good. And I knew that whenever I
Right.
got rid of my Durango, I needed to get a 4 door car. I couldn't get a 2 door, and I didn't want a pickup truck.
Right.
But I thought about it, and it really came down to getting a truck or a Jeep. And I was like, you can take the top and doors off of a Jeep, and I never looked back.
Right. Do you wish you had that CJ7 back?
I
Is it
wish so many times that my mom wouldn't have convinced my dad that he needed to get rid of it because I was going when I moved off to go to college. My mom made my dad get rid of it because she said it wasn't
right?
reliable. And it wasn't that it was reliable; it just kind of had these unique uh, uniquenesses about it. Like my dad couldn't even start
Right.
it because the key, you had to get it pushed in, turn it, push it in a little bit more. Like it almost was like an anti-theft system that really only I could start it. And my mom
Right.
would never pay attention to when it was low on gas. And when you got to about a quarter of a tank, you were about to run out of gas. So my mom just never kept it
So you better just
full.
fill up.
Yeah. So I didn't understand why we had to get rid of it, but we did. And yeah, I think it would be pretty awesome to have that thing. It'd basically be my
It'd
garage
be cool if
car.
you could like track it down.
Yeah, my dad said the guy that he sold it to somebody else, and they put big mud swamper tires on it and took it down to the Canadian River and just bogged it, and it's just no more, from what I've been told.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
but yeah, if
horrible.
I could be one of those guys to
So
track it
that's what
down,
made you go towards Jeep.
yeah, really,
Yeah.
it was because of my first car.
That would be awesome.
I drove. I never wanted the top on it, so there would be a few times in the year that my dad would tell me to put the top on. I'd be like, no, one more week. And then it would snow that next week. And I'd be driving to school in the snow without my topper doors on.
Right. I've been there like the cold mornings where you're like, man, this is going to be great. I'll take the doors off or I'll take the windows off of my half doors and I'll be like, this is going to be a great idea. And then about the time you hit the interstate for me or you know something like that, you're like, man, this was a horrible idea.
Well, see, for us in Lubbock, it's one of those things like it never rains. So you never have to worry about the rain. But when it does come, it's like
Right.
a thunderstorm. So my Jeep has had many a times where it's had standing water in the floorboards because I didn't have the topper doors on it. So I did invest in a really nice uh, cover for it so that in an emergency when it's at work, I can go run out there and throw the top on it and hopefully there won't be 10 feet of water in it.
So, did you ever take the CJ7 off road? Like,
No, I never really took it off road. We always, like I said, I love hunting, I love being outdoors. So it's been off road, but I never drove it off road. Like when we would go to the
I got
deer,
you.
whenever we'd go to the deer lease, like my dad would drive, and we actually hunted on the rim of the Paladura Canyon, south of Amarillo, outside of Wayside. And there's some pretty, sketchy areas of the canyon that we were on this ranch that we
Right.
hunted. So my dad took it off road, and that's kind of like, what got everything outdoorsy going for me. But no, I technically never drove it off road, but it had been off road. It wasn't a mall crawler.
I got you. So, what made you take your Jeep, your current Jeep? Like, what did you say? I want to go do a Jeep Jamboree, or I want to take it off road. Like,
uh, I'm always down for an adventure. And my buddy Randy said, "Hey, have you ever done a jamboree?" And I was like, "No, what is that?" And he told me about it, and I started watching YouTube videos, and I was like, "I want to do that. I think I can do that." And I went out there,
right,
and they were like, "Oh, you need to be in this lower group. You're a stock Jeep." And I'm like, "I know what I'm doing." And they're like, "Okay, you're gonna hit the bottom." And I'm like, "That's fine. That's what it's for." And
right.
I grinded and graded that thing over every rock that was there and realized I can do this. And it would be a lot easier if I had a lift and bigger tires.
Absolutely. I think we were in the same boat where we watched the YouTube video. We didn't know what to do. Um, we had gone off road like at our local park or off road park, but we had never really gone outside of the state. And we were really it was stony. It was stony lonesome for us that we just wheeled there and that was it. But we wanted more of like a guided tour system. So I hit the internet, found Jeep Jamboree, and then that was history for us. We met each other there, and that was it was a good time. I watched the YouTube video the other day, and it was cool to just to go back and remember where we started, because like there was no plan for Waypoint X then. Waypoint X was never a thing, and then now it's kind of taken off.
Yeah,
So
and that's the great thing about the Jamboree experience is it'll take somebody that wants to do things in their Jeep, but just isn't comfortable doing it and just
right,
pushing you out there and be like, your Jeep can do this. It's you that's just
right,
got to make it do it. And then once you see somebody else go up that, you're like, wow, Okay, I know how they, wiggled it up there.
Right,
They watched that rock, they went this way, and it's just kind of seeing like you got to be able to start seeing your line if you want to know what you're really doing
right.
and get good at it.
Right. And that's why we kind of started what we did here in Alabama was, the trail excursions or trail guiding a little bit was to there's a lot of people in Alabama that are so scared of these parks because one the maps aren't good or just what no, numerous reasons why. But that's why they don't want to go, and so we want to get them off road, see what their Jeep can do. I mean, we've done like I guess stock Jeep rides, and people have a great time and they learn a lot about their Jeep. But that was Jeep Jamboree for us, and I think you would agree that if you just bought a Jeep Jamboree, or coming to one of ours is just easier. If you live in Alabama, but there's Jeep Jamborees throughout the whole United States, and I think, like I said, you and I would agree that if you're new, that would, I mean, yes, it's a lot of money because there's some trips that are a lot of money, but I think it's well worth it for what you get out of it.
It is, and especially if it's to an area that you've never been to before, because a lot of these jamborees that they have are on public land or off-road parks that
Right.
anybody can have access to, but it's a guided experience to where, like,
Right.
anybody can go up to Moab and never hit the same trail twice, but it'll show you, the area that you need to go, the trails that you want to hit or stay away from because they're either way too hard
Right.
or way too easy, because that's the other problem is as you get better and better and more comfortable in your Jeep, you keep pushing it to do harder and harder things, and then you either get to a point where you need a bigger Jeep or you need, just to be happy where you're at because you're always trying to progress and get better.
Right. I think you're dead on there. And so, we did the Ozark one, and I think I can't. What was the second one? Was the second one the Rubicon?
No, the second one was either the Llano Spur Jamboree in Texas,
Okay.
or it was the Paladura Canyon Jamboree that you did with us.
I think it was Texas, and then we went on the Rubicon. I think Lano was first, and then we went on the Rubicon, and then I came to Paladura. Or it could have been the opposite where we did Paladura and then Lano, but I think we went to Lano first.
And see, that's the problem for me is my first Jeep
No,
Jamboree.
I, ju- I just remembered it was Paladura and then Lano because Lano was the Pirate Jamboree and it was like a last second thing.
Oh, that is right. That is right.
And
It's
that's
and
the
see,
logo that
yeah,
you awesomely engraved.
yeah, that I is behind you. And see,
Yes.
my
So shout out to Clayton. Shout out to Clayton really quickly for our awesome decor.
yeah, and see, my first jamboree was in 2015 with Randy, and that one was in Parker, Arizona. And they actually don't even do that jamboree anymore, just because it was too small, or I guess they just didn't have enough of a draw. But I've done at least one or two, and sometimes three jamborees every year since then. But we've gone, to Moab, we've gone to Ouray, we've been all over, together. And it's just one of those things. It's like after we're not even finished with our first trip, we're already thinking, hey, where are we going next?
Right, absolutely. And I definitely want to hit another Jeep Jamboree. I'm just trying to figure out where, because I'm like I've said before, we hit Lano, Paladura, Ozark, and we went to the one in Kentucky.
And,
Um,
and then we
so
did
I
Rubicon as
know we've done.
well.
Yeah, we did the Rubicon. So that we've done 5 together
Yeah,
since Ozark. So 6 total, which is crazy to think back on. It's been a long time, and we've done that many.
yeah.
Um, so I think it's cool. Just kind of now that we're talking and having this, I guess, podcast show type deal, that it's kind of cool to look back over all these years and see all that we've done, because sometimes you'll forget about it. But luckily, we have it on YouTube, most
Yeah.
of it, which is cool to go look back on, and see the progression of not only us and our Jeeps, but how much fun we've had throughout the years.
Well, and one of the great things I like about going on a trip with you is how you record the trip, and when you put it together, you put it together in a cohesive piece that it tells the story of the trip, because I'm the best about going on a jamboree or a trip or anything and not taking a single picture because I'm just immersed in the moment. I My wife's like, "Hey, did you get any pictures?" And I'm like, "Nah, no, not really." And then you come out with this video and I can go
Right.
back and I can watch, like I can be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that obstacle. That's where we nearly laid it over on its side, because I wasn't watching my spotter like I was supposed to." And
Right.
it's really fun to go back and watch the videos of where we've been and be like, man, that was an easy trail, but at the time we really thought it was pretty hard, and just see our
Right.
progression through the
Exactly.
time, because in 2018 compared to where we are now, it hasn't been that many years, but it's been enough that we've gotten a lot of notches, on our trips.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, so Caitlin, in our short little break that we just had, Caitlin said that Lano was first. Lano was first, and then it was Rubicon, and then Paladura. She's going back and looking through her phone. So,
Well, see, I'm trying to think, because are we just talking or are we recording? I mean, like,
I can record it. We can be recording or not,
okay.
so it doesn't matter.
But see, I honestly can't remember, because I remember going to Ozark with you, and then your dad came for
What was it, Caitlin?
Lano.
It was Lano, and then what? Rubicon, Paladura, Kentucky. Yeah.
That's right, because
So for all the
that's
folks listening, yeah. So for all the folks listening, Caitlin has stepped in and gone back to our YouTube channel, and it was Lano first, then it was Rubicon, Caitlin, right, and then Paladura, and then we went to Kentucky. So long. It's been a long few years,
yeah, and that's actually the way that it did happen, because
but
that's when,
enjoyable.
yeah, that's when COVID was happening, and they were having to cancel all these events, and
Right.
it was just
Right.
a slowdown of everything, especially the wheeling.
Right. So yeah, lot of wheeling that we've done. It's been an awesome journey. Like I really do appreciate you saying you get to go back and watch all this because, like you said, your wife, uh, saying, "Oh, did you not take any photos of the event?" And then we get to bring out a video and some photos later, and you get to like relive the whole experience over again.
Oh yeah.
Which, like I said earlier, it was never meant. We never started it to be a YouTube channel. I mean, if you remember back to the Ozark trip, we just had a camera, and I think we might have had a GoPro, and we filmed a little bit of it, but we didn't really think. I mean, it kind of just grew throughout the weekend. Like, hey, we're gonna make a video out of this, and then next thing you know, we made a YouTube channel, and you were basically the start of our YouTube channel, and have been in a lot thus far.
Well, it was one of those things that, like, as you started getting better at what you were doing in the Jeep, you also started getting better about how you were going to tell the story and how you were recording the adventure.
Right. Right. Exactly. Which I definitely appreciate that, and I think it's we're still growing. We'll never be I'll never say we'll be at the top, but it's that constant progression, and if we keep moving forward, that's all we can ask for. Hey Clayton, we want to thank you right now for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks
So
for having me.
guys, hit that subscribe button. Yeah, hit that subscribe button for us. Leave us a like. Hit that bell for all notifications so you can get more content just like this. We're going to be having podcasts more often. I think I'm enjoying it, and hopefully you are too. So, like we said, thank you, Clayton, for joining us today.
No worries.
So, next question is we've kind of already gone over this, but what has been the evolution or journey of your off road adventure? I know you said you started way before us, but how would you describe from where you started to where you are now?
So, a good example of that is the plastic bumpers that come stock on a Jeep. I didn't like them, so I
Totally
wanted to get
understand.
some metal ones, and I ended up getting the Hard Rock Edition steel bumpers from Mopar. And at the time, I thought
Mm-hmm.
they were amazing. They were stiff, they were metal, better than
Right.
that plastic that's going to fade eventually. But after giving them
Right.
the adventure and the beating that they've taken, I realized that I should have gone. I should have gone more substantial with the bumper, and that's kind of a lot of
Right.
the things that have worked their way up. Is I got what I thought I wanted, and then I ended up going back and redoing the whole thing. I've upgraded my steering components because the stock ones, either weren't going to work or I got what I could afford at the time. And then they ended up breaking or bending or whatnot. And, you end up breaking something and everybody says, oh, well, when you break it, that's just the time for the upgrade. But the problem is if you've upgraded it once and then you broke it again, you probably should have just gone with the better quality from the first time around. But you can't. You go with what you can afford and what you
Right.
think you need.
Absolutely. And I would definitely say we're in the same boat where you put this on and then that doesn't work. Like we had a bumper from like Amazon because that's what we could afford. And then we were like, we got to have something more substantial and this, that, and the other. And then we finally got the bumper that we have now, which is a Rusty's, and we love it. Um, but I totally agree with that. But you, like you said, you have to do what you afford. Now, if I built the same Jeep today, I would do it completely
Oh,
differently,
absolutely. Even
completely different.
and especially for me, I would completely agree with you because even though I love what I've got now, I know what I would have wanted to have gotten and I would have done it differently. But there's a lot of people
Right.
that'll go out and just give fistfuls of money to somebody to build them a Jeep on 40s, and they have no skill set to match what their Jeep can do. And it really helps
Correct.
if your Jeep and your skill set follow each other in step.
Absolutely. I mean, and you've seen the course of our Jeep. You know, we're currently. I didn't know if you knew this or not. Like I got done working actually of the making of this video of we were actually building our 1 tons. So I have a Dana 60 up front and I'm doing a Sterling rear, and we are going to go to the 40s. But we've also broken our axle shafts a few times, um, and so we are progressing through that. Granted, I'm not going out and buying you know stuff. I'm making it because that's what I can afford. I can't afford this, so I'm doing with what I can, which is still going to be really strong, if not stronger than crate axles. Nothing against people that have crate axles. I wish I could get them, but I just can't. Um, but that's understandable. But everybody has to go through that progression. I think it is a good thing, like you said, to start stock. If not, maybe I could even see like 35s, and kind of progressing through that. If you've had no off road experience at all, now if you've had off road experience and you've like driven razors or you've done a little bit this, that, and the other, I could see maybe starting with a 35 or 37 or a built Jeep. But you really learn. You learn what your Jeep can do with the 33s. It can do a lot more than what people give it credit for. And so I think when they progress through that 33, 35, 37, and then now where I'm at a 40 just makes things easier. It's not like I mean, yeah, you can crawl a little bit more of stuff, but it just makes things easier. And that's what I'm going for, is to make things easier because I'm usually the guy at the front. And I just want to go over stuff, and be able to get out of the way, and then I can film everybody else after me. That's what I enjoy the most, and so I think there's that progression that you kind of have to take and learn from.
Right. And I always make the comparison for wheeling to snow skiing because you don't get on the mountain and go bombing down a double black. You awkwardly fall on the bunny slope or the magic carpet ride. And then as your skills progress,
Right,
your equipment gets better, your skill set gets better, your equipment gets better. But there also is the point where you've built a Jeep up enough where you can't take the stuff off of it to go bigger. And that's actually where you end up selling
right,
your Jeep to somebody else that's in that progression, and that's where they're at is they want something that they've got some experience, but they want a built Jeep, and then you get to start over from
right,
scratch and kind of do it the way you want it.
right,
But see, I just up until recently, I still drove my Jeep everywhere. I drove it to the
right,
Rubicon. I drove it to Black Hills, South Dakota. And when I got there, I thought to myself, all right, remember, stupid, you've got to drive this thing home. And
right.
that
Which
really
which I think it's awesome now. I think it's awesome now that we trailer. I mean, I trailered before you did, but now it's like a whole different experience because you don't have to worry about hitting stuff.
Yeah, because I've been there before where I bent a shock, and I had to go home on three shocks and a
Right.
spring from air. Where were we? I was in Arizona
I
again.
remember that.
Yeah, and
I
I
remember you telling me about that or
yeah,
something like that. I can't remember.
but it made for an interesting drive home. But after I was able to get to a place where I could afford a truck and a trailer, it just made things much more comfortable in being able to do what we do.
Right. Right, exactly. Especially with our progression of, I remember in the Ozark one we did like the orange, which wasn't the hardest, but then we've kind of progressed of like, hey, we want to do harder and harder stuff. We want that challenging obstacle. We don't want it. I mean, yeah, there's great trails that are just as easy, and I'm not putting anybody down for that. But we just wanted that next adventure, that little bit more, if that makes sense.
Right, and we're also a little bit hindered in that we don't have Jeeps that are basically buggies. We still like to keep ours cosmetically beautiful
Right.
because we want them to look good as well
Yes.
as wheel them hard.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I I don't want to rake the side of my thing through a rock and be like, oh man, I made that obstacle and I lost everything
No,
on the driver's
absolutely
side.
not.
I still like mine to look good when it's going
Right.
down the road.
Absolutely. I still drive mine occasionally to work or around town, this, that, and the other, and it'll still run 70 down the interstate and stay straight. So that's my thing is I still want to be able to drive mine. And like you said, I don't want to roll it. I don't want to take out half the passenger side on a rock or this, that, and the other. I don't want that to happen. So let's get into the next question because we could talk about that forever. Um, but where is your favorite place to go off roading?
So my favorite place is by far, hands down, I love going to Moab. It might be
I'm right there
cliche,
with you.
but it's got the most trails. It's got the most variety and level of difficulty, and it's gotten to a point where like I'm
Right.
pretty comfortable with where trails are located and being able to navigate because we can hit one trail in the morning, hit a second one around lunchtime, and then finish off on a third one, and be back at the Airbnb for dinner. So my favorite place
Right.
by far is to go to Moab. My wife makes fun of me because she's like, "Why don't y'all go somewhere else?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's just what I know. It's comfortable and it's fun. Every time I've ever been,
It's
there's
the
always
Mecca,
there's always been some other trail that we've done that I haven't done before.
and it's the Mecca for off roading,
It
and that's
really
why they
is.
call it that.
It
I mean,
really is.
everybody want it. That's why they. And the thing is, like, once you go there, especially for being out east, you'll never want to go anywhere else. Like, going to Stony is not the same as going to Moab, and I guarantee you, going to Paladura or Lano is not the same as Moab. It's just different.
It's
Like, I feel like
different.
when you roll into the town, and it just feels different.
Yeah. There's Jeeps everywhere. There's Red Rock. I mean, it's just a different atmosphere.
Absolutely. So I guess this pretty much sums up the next question. Where do you want to go if you could go tomorrow?
So
Moab?
I actually want to go to Moab so bad, but to get you out there, it's a 2 day drive for you. For me, it's about nine or
We're planning. We're
yeah,
planning.
for me, it's about 9 or 10 hours. I can make it pretty easy in one day. So it's really nice whenever I can get a 5 day weekend or a long stretch of work off because you can drive up there, you can wheel hard for 3 days, and then you hopefully come back in one piece and don't have to limp it home. But I
Right.
I always loved going to Moab. I love when we were there actually around this time last year and we did Pritchett Canyon. It was one of those
Mm-hmm.
experiences that I still think about, how we were we did Pritchett Canyon
That was miserable.
and it was an experience, like we were probably in over our head compared to where we should have been.
Way.
And you know, I have never drank in my entire cooler full of water. And we were drinking the ice cubes out of the bottom of the cooler, because we had run out of water. Like it was
Right.
an all
So bad.
day adventure.
I think though if we did it again, it would be a lot easier. I'm not saying the obstacles being easier. I'm saying just
Our
the
level,
experience.
our
I don't.
our level of comfort would be better because we had done it before, but also we knew that we weren't going to die. I mean, there's always the chance, but
Right.
it was
Right.
it was kind of
Because those
questionable
some of
when we
those
first started.
right. So some of those obstacles, I've gone back and seen other Jeepers YouTube or whatever video they posted on, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, and it's like that obstacle looks so easy. Like, why did it be? Why was it that hard? And they've probably done it quite a few times, but that was our first time. We had never, we'd watched it. I'd watched a few videos on it, but
It does it,
you'd seen
it
a
doesn't
few of
give it
them. It does
justice
no justice. Absolutely not. I
because
mean, it's crazy. I mean, the ledges out there and the drop offs are insane.
well, and especially the obstacle. It's rocker knocker, where you have to get up a tire and then you have to grind it over to the side and then you have to get it to climb. Like I just couldn't get it to do it, and no matter how.
Well, have you seen what they're doing now? And I think it's the preferred line, but it's like you have to risk it. Is they just drive straight up, like more to the right side of it.
Okay,
Like I'll have to send you a video after this. They don't do what we did. Like they literally went straight and just hammered it. And I'm like, that's so sketchy.
yeah,
Cuz like that's an axle and there's a few harder obstacles after that.
yeah.
Like I want my axle for that.
Well, and then it's one of those like
So I'm glad
you couldn't just drag it out. I mean,
it's like a whole nother trail out of there. I mean, granted,
yeah.
it's just basic road, but that's all it is just another road out of there. But it takes like 2-3 hours on top of that.
Oh, it,
I mean,
it took us so long to get back,
so,
and then we still had to cook dinner.
yes, and that was the night we were doing like steaks and stuff. That was a horrible decision too because we were like starving.
Yeah, we should have. Well, I didn't think that it was going to take us as long as that it did,
No,
and I mean, I'm just glad we made it.
I am too. The first few obstacles are like, oh, this is gonna be easy. Like
Yeah, this isn't that bad.
this is
And then
this
it
is
just gets harder and
hard and
harder
hard.
and harder.
Right. Now, I will say cliffhanger I would do again in tomorrow. I enjoyed that
Okay,
one. You
so
might not have, but I did.
so I enjoyed Cliffhanger, but why in the world were we coming off of Cliffhanger in the dark?
Because we hit top of the world and then drove all the way back across the world, literally.
That's right. You wanted to go to Top of the World for that picture because I was actually watching the video and I was like, why is it dark?
Yeah.
Cliffhanger isn't that long of a trip.
No, it's not. But the
Yeah,
fact
we
is
went
we got
from
over there so
this
late.
part of Moab down to this part of Moab
Yeah.
because you
So
wanted to go get a
bad,
picture.
but but we did get both of them done. It was a little
We
sketchy at
did.
night, but it worked. Um but I will say like if we did cliffhanger again, it would just be cliffhanger. Like that would be our I wouldn't say easy day, but I would do it again.
Yeah, well, you could go to Moab and get Moab Rim and Cliffhanger done in the same day because they're just right there. But I mean, you
Right.
literally went from like one of the farthest trails
True.
off to the east to back to the center of Moab and then go do it.
Right.
And then of
Exactly.
course it's an hour drive, so you got to air up.
Right. Exactly. And I don't have. I mean, Top of the World was cool, but I don't need to go back out there again.
No. But it's one of
But
those things that like it's one of those experiences that you go out, you take a picture of your Jeep hanging off the edge of the canyon. It's just the Moab thing, just be like, I did top of the world. And everybody's like, oh, did you
right.
get your picture? And you're like, yeah, I got my picture.
But I would go hit. I want to do like the next time we go Steel Bender and some of those other trails that we
Yeah.
had talked about doing last time. I think you're always going to do some of them just because I think depending on who goes, you'll have to do like Hell's Revenge and stuff
Yeah.
like that because it's
Poison
fun.
spider to golden
Right.
spike to gold bar so
Yeah.
that you can
Like
do the
that was a
golden
good.
crack.
Yeah, that was a good one. I don't think I would do the loop again. Like just go straight.
Oh yeah, not do the whole poison spider.
Yeah, just go straight.
Yeah,
I think that loop just took way too long, and it really wasn't that, like, there
necessary.
wasn't anything right exactly. Um, but all in all, it was a great trip, and I'm ready to plan the. Well, we are planning the next one,
Yeah,
so so
yeah. We're gonna take some other
next.
people though this time.
Yeah, we're
It'll
gonna
be a
change it
bigger
up a little
group.
bit. Yeah, a little bit bigger group. So we'll see how that goes. So I know you kind of had we kind of talked about this earlier, but I want to ask again, kind of, if you had to start over today, what would you do differently, or would you change anything at all?
See, I don't know because one of the reasons why I got my 13 when I got my 13 is because in 12, that was the first year that they had the new engines in the Jeeps. Because you've
Right,
got the older one and I've got the newer one. But even though yours
right,
is bigger, mine is actually more powerful and efficient,
and
or at least
and
that's what they
better,
say. Yeah, and better. But
and better.
I didn't want the older one because I wanted the newer engine for better, fuel economy because I thought that I was just going to be driving this every day to work for the next
Right.
10 years, on the highway, never taking it off road unless I'm going deer hunting. So maybe I would have gotten an older Jeep like yours because what year is yours?
Mine's an '09.
So maybe get like an '09 and then I would have been able to get a truck. But at the time, I didn't know I was going to do what I wanted to do. So it wouldn't have made sense to get the truck to pull the trailer to pull the
Right.
Jeep that I didn't even know I was going to do this. So if I was just going to do it over again, I would think don't go cheap on things that you should probably spend money on, which would be driving and steering components because I've broken
Right.
both my front and rear drive shafts that were upgrades from the stock. And then I finally went with Woody's on the front and rear, and I haven't had problems. I went with a different upgraded diff cover because I punched a hole in the stock one, and I ironically didn't go with Rusty's, but I ended up going with Rusty's, and it was great. I've never had a problem with it since I've gone with Rusty's for my front and rear diff covers.
Right. And I would say the same thing. Like, if you're on the edge, so y'all listen to me if y'all are watching this video and you are upgrading your Jeep, if it is so worth it, and I think Clayton would agree with me, it is so worth it to wait the extra, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, save that extra money. Don't go get the Starbucks. Don't go to, don't get that bag of chips or, the cookie at the gas station or whatever, and and save that money to buy the better product, or whatever it is, whether it's a lift kit,
because because
steering.
in the long run you're going to end up spending twice as much money if you don't.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I like we said, we both agree with that, and I think there are many other people out there that would agree. Also, I've had a few phone calls this week about what they should do on their Jeep. Um, Actual phone calls from people saying, "What should I do? I know you did it this way. What would you change if you did it? And would you upgrade even more than you did the first time?" If that makes sense. And so
Yeah, and I
it
think
it makes a difference.
it does. And I think one of the things that people really need to think about is if they want their Jeep to look cool or if they want it to be able to do the cool things. Because
Right.
one of the things that I always say is lockers before light bars. You got to have some lockers on your Jeep before you have a giant 50-inch,
Right.
LED up there because
Right.
you're rarely going to have an opportunity that you need to use that light. But if you're really wheeling your Jeep, you really need to have some lockers.
And that's nothing against the guy that does want to just take it on the road. If that's all you want to do, that's fine. But
Right.
I encourage those people. I mean, it's your money. You do with what you want to with it. I'm not judging you for not wanting to go off road. I'm just saying there's a whole nother life out there that is so cool and so amazing to be out in the woods and wheeling, that you're missing out on half of the Jeep experience. Now, it's great. You can have at it. If you just want to go down the road, perfect. But you are missing out on a whole other side of the world that most people don't get to see.
It's completely true because there's a lot of times where when you go on a trail, if you don't have lockers, you're going left and everybody else is
Right.
getting to go right because you just
Absolutely.
can't make your tires spin the way they need to spin if you don't have lockers.
Right. Exactly. I mean, there were plenty of times on the Rubicon where we used them in Moab too, where it made a difference.
Yeah, it's the easy button.
So exactly. So last question, and it's our slogan. Where is your next destination?
So my next destination is actually going to be the Figure 3 Ranch in the next month or two, getting ready for the local Jeep exclusive Paladura Challenge that's being held.
I need to make it out there eventually, but my ACL is kind of said otherwise.
Yeah. So my next adventure will be the Paladura Canyon system outside of Amarillo and Claude, prepping for the Paladura Challenge.
Sweet. I need to make it out there so bad. But we need to plan another trip. I mean, I know we're planning the Moab trip. I would like to do another Jeep Jamboree just to see. But yeah, I think it's great. So we want to say thank you. Thank you, Clayton, for joining us today on the show. I appreciate you taking time out of your night to video this. So we really do appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, Judd.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it because I enjoy kind of reminiscing on all the cool stuff we've done throughout the years.
Of course.
So, guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to have a lot more content like this coming up. Some awesome guests just like Clayton. So, hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, leave us a comment. If you have any questions for Clayton, send me an email, put it in the comment section below, and I will get those to Clayton, and then we will get a reply to you as soon as possible. But definitely hit that bell for some notifications, guys. So like I said, we really do appreciate it. Hope y'all have a great night, morning, whenever you're watching this, and hope to see y'all out on the trail. Thank you.